Yeah, morning everyone, to those who have joined us again. We're just waiting maybe one more minute and then we'll kickstart the session. So I've also left the link in the chat window about the future webinars that we are holding related to HR. So feel free to learn more about them if you'd like to join us for the next few sessions as well. Okay, I think we shouldn't wait more, so we can kickstart the session now. So thanks everyone again for joining us. Just some housekeeping before we get started. This webinar is recorded, so if you have, it will only be shared on our YouTube page, but all information related to you is confidential. If you have any questions, type them in the Q&A box and we are here to answer them, at any point in time. And if you want to ask them verbally also, just let us know and we'll give you permission to talk. Also, we'll be launching poll questions just as you saw at the beginning of the session, just so that we can make it more interactive and also understand you better. There is a survey at the end of the session, so we will appreciate if you can leave your feedback as well. And also for those who are attending this webinar, you are eligible for a free 2-hour HR consultancy. So today our webinar itself is going beyond recruitment. This webinar is for those who want to become a better recruitment, be it your full-time job or not. So with me, I'm actually the account manager. Maurice here is the HR consultant. Vijay is the founder and CEO of NuSmart itself. And without further ado, I'd like to hand over the time to Maurice, who is our HR consultant. So over to you, Maurice.
Thank you, Uditi. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. Before I start my presentation, let me give you a little introduction about myself. As a seasoned HR practitioner, I have more than 38 years of HR experience covering the full spectrum of HR function. I have worked as a HR director for the last 10 to 15 years before embarking as a HR consultant. I have been exposed to various industries such as IT, engineering, manufacturing, healthcare, oil and gas, etc. I have also been in charge of the region covering the Asia Pac, and I'm very familiar with the culture of different countries. Currently, I'm a product manager and HR consultant for New Vista Technology. Today, we are going to talk about going beyond recruitment. The labor market has always been tight with organizations competing for talents. Today, I will be talking about what HR must do beyond the normal recruiting process to secure the right talents. I'll be covering the common challenges in recruitment, how to develop the right strategy, and giving you tips on competency-based interviewing techniques, employer branding, and onboarding. I will answer any queries or questions that you have, and I'll also share with you how New Vista or NuSmart can help you with your recruitment. We will have a Q&A session before we end this webinar. Before I start with the topics, let me tell you a little bit about us. New Vista was established in 2002, and we are the leading provider of cloud-based integrated IT solution. We have more than 300 customers in 10 over countries, and we are new NetSuite partner since 2012. NuSmart is a sister company of New Vista Technology, and we have started in 2015 and become an SDN partner in 2019. We have been developing HRMS on NetSuite platform, and today we have more than 30 customers across 10 countries. We have companies using our HRMS from different countries and from different industries. Our HMS covers the full spectrum of HR, starting from recruiting and onboarding to payroll processing, attendance, leave management, training and development, performance appraisal, loans and assets management, and even expenses. Our HRMS is not only available through the web portal, but also available on the mobile, both iOS and Android, as well as tablet. Besides the HRMS, we are also into HR consulting and payroll outsourcing. Now, last week, 2 weeks ago, I covered about HR as a business partner. And to be a HR business partner, one needs to be not only good at administration, but also you have to be very strategic focused, champion of change, and be very engaged with the employees. So as a recruiter, you need to be able to be both strategic and operational ready. What are the common challenges in recruitment? The landscape today, labor market in Singapore and globally, has changed significantly compared to a decade or 2 decades ago. Though the labor markets remains tight as usual, the characteristic of the applicants have changed significantly due to the education level, the upbringing, the international exposure. Today, the challenges in recruitment are the availability of local candidates, competing against other organizations for talents, attracting candidates to apply to your position, and assessing candidates' competency. There's another challenge, and that is the cost and time associated with recruitment. Placing of advertisement, screening, interviewing, testing, and checking. But technology today has helped to reduce this cost and time of recruitment significantly. Besides the challenges, there are always mistakes in recruitment. Here are the 10 common mistakes that is made during the recruitment process. Firstly, not knowing what you are looking for. Many a times, there is no job description. As such, the HR, the recruiter, do not know what to ask and what to look for or how to assess the right candidate. There is no structured interviewing process in place. Some candidate goes through a few rounds of interview, while others just go through one round. Inadequate interview preparation, where sometimes you'll find that hiring manager rush through the interview because there were disruption. Poor selection of interview questions, not know what to ask. Hiring too quickly. No awareness of halo effect. hiring people just like you because you share the same interest, raising the standard unrealistically. Sometimes hiring manager sets very high standard, using only one interview and not doing reference checking. So these are some of the common mistakes that we can always find during the recruitment process. Before we move into the recruitment process, it is important to develop recruitment strategy. So what are the recruitment strategy? First, we have to look at the manpower planning. How many people do you need? When do you need these people? What are the responsibilities? What are the requirements, the specification? All this information needs to be answered or gathered. Then we have to look at the recruitment alternatives. We need to look at where are we going to get the candidates from, the source. Do we need to use special inducement? And then we have to look at reporting. So in terms of manpower planning, we need to find out the number of headcounts that we need throughout the year. Which quarter do we need it, or which month do we need it, so that we can plan and ensure that we advertise correctly and we get the people that we want before others. At the same time, we also look at the cost, what it needs to get the right talents, how much does it cost the company, and what will be the other costs relating to the recruiting of people. In terms of recruitment alternatives, we need to know whether we can use other ways besides recruitment, such as getting people to work overtime or enlarge someone's job using technology or automation. Or can we look at outsourcing, subcontracting, or hiring just part-time or temporary staff before we commit ourselves to a permanent placement. Now, here is a little activity that I would like you to participate. Imagine you are working for a startup company and seeking to recruit an experienced accounting person to help with the company's daily accounting transactions, as well as prepare full set of accounts. The person shall be required to set up some accounting policies and provide monthly reports to the management. This role will be a sole contributor at this moment, and I expect to lead a team in future. So imagine you are a recruiter of this company, startup. Okay, and I have 3 candidates for you, A, B, and C. A and C has a degree, while B has a diploma. A has 3 years, B has 18 years of experience, while C has 7. And all have different abilities and also desired expectation is there. Who will you select to join your company? A, B, or C? Uditi will launch the poll for you to select the candidate A, B, or C. So put in your choice and we can see the results. Have you all decided which candidate do you want? Remember, you are working for a startup company and it requires someone to do the daily accounting work plus preparing monthly reports to the management. Has everybody answered? Well, let's see, who do we select? A, B, or C? Woo. A lot of you select C. Okay, A and B is quite equal. All right. Now, there are a few things that as a recruiter, you all need to know. Okay, I have already highlighted a few times. You are a startup company. All right. So as a recruiter, you need to understand the business cycle of your company. Where are you? As a startup, where is your cash flow and how much profit do you have? Most of the time, as a startup, you do not have very strong financial ability. You do not have deep pockets to pay for a very experienced person to join your company. You need someone who is always looking or hunger to learn more, to do more, and is willing to take a lower salary. But you must also look for someone who has the potential to develop or progress further in his or her career when the company grows. So it is important as a recruiter, you need to know your own company business, the culture of the company as well. So as such, okay, candidate A will be the best fit. Why? The person has good educational background, come with a degree, can do a full set of account when needed, has knowledge of financial management, which may not be needed now, but in future, willing to learn. That means this person is versatile, wanting or hungry to learn many things. All right. So, and he or she is prepared to roll up his or her sleeve to do the work because this person has not led a team and has been very operational. And the salary or her salary is 4,000. It's good. All right. So this person will be best suited. B, in terms of qualification, may not be there, but years of experience is good. Okay, has been leading a team of 5, but in terms of potential, this person may be stagnant and may not be able to grow further into a finance manager role in future. Well, C is very qualified, all right, but has been a finance manager, and he may not be able to wanting to do the operational work, roll up his or her sleeve to do the day-to-day transaction. So therefore, candidate A is the best. So as a recruiter, you must be able to assess your current company situation, your company culture, and decide which candidate best suit your company. So I hope this will be an eye-opener for those who are doing recruitment. Many recruiters do not look at this. They only look at the JDs, the job spec, okay, without understanding their own company background and culture. Now, a little bit about recruitment. Now that you know about the strategy and so forth, what you should be looking at, let's look at some of the interview techniques. To select the right candidates, it is important for HR professional and hiring manager to use the right technique to assess the candidate. The most effective method today is called competency-based interview. Sometimes it's referred as the STAR approach, S-T-A-R, STAR. Now, STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. This is where the recruiter will require the candidate to use a structured manner of responding to a behavior-based question by describing or discussing a specific situation and the task that is involved or she is involved in that situation, what action did he or she take, and what was the result at the end of the action. So this is the STAR approach. So an example, okay, of a STAR approach question will be, describe an occasion when you plan and organize a difficult project. When did this happen? How long ago? What problems or difficulties did you encounter? What were you trying to achieve? And the kind of action, what did you do to tackle the problem? What action did you take to address the obstacle? And what was finally the outcome of your action? So this is an example of the question that you asked in a STAR approach. Okay. So the STAR approach can be used to assess a person's competency in many areas, in communication, in technical areas, integrity, etc. So it can apply to different kinds of competency. When you are doing the interview, do prepare some questions along this line under the STAR approach, so that you can try to ask the candidate. By practicing, you become perfect. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is employer branding and customer service. Besides having good interviewing techniques and putting strategy in place, many recruiter and hiring manager sometimes fear to recruit the right talent or attract the right talent because of the customer service. So what today's candidates are also looking at the company that they are joining or wanting to join. They were searched to understand more about the company culture, the leadership, the compensation, the training and development opportunity, the career prospects, the work-life balance, the working condition, and so forth. With technology, with internet, with search machine, young candidates today can find out a lot about an organization. They are always looking for the right company to join, and company must make themselves a great place to work. If not, they will not be able to attract the right talent. Remember that every applicant is or may be your company customer. So it's very important to ensure that they are treated well and with respect. I remember many years ago, as a HR director, I was looking for a finance director for my organization. And at the end of the day, I recruited one. And a few months later, during the management meeting, the sales director announced to the management team to thank Maurice for introducing a customer to the company who have signed up $1 million deal. I was shocked, and I told the management team, I'm not aware, and I do not know who my sales director is talking about. It turns out that one of the rejected applicants who came for a finance director interview was very impressed with our organization, because during the interview, I've showcased our company culture, our products, our services. And he was very impressed. He brought the information back to the company, to the management, and says that they should embark on this new technology. And they call our sales, who then going down to do a demonstration. And they find it very impressive. And they sign and close the deal, which is worth slightly more than $1 million. So you can see that if you treat your candidates right, it can also result in business for your organization. And this is one story or one event that I have never forget. So remember, good customer service by HR will help to enhance the company brand and attract more people to the company. Nothing is more important or more satisfying to a recruiter than a happy applicant or a new hire. So think back when you were an applicant and you go for interview. Which company give you a good impression? Which company did not give you a good impression? And for those companies that did not give you a good impression, what did they do to frustrate you? So make sure that you don't do it or do the same thing to your candidates. So again, remember, as a recruiter, as a HR professional, as hiring manager, treat all candidates well and with respect. Now, selecting the right candidates doesn't mean that's the end of your recruitment process. There are many times that after the candidates has signed on the dotted line, they never turn up for work on the first day. They may join another company. So it doesn't mean that a candidate who signed on the dotted line, you have secured the candidate. You may lose them if you are not careful. So always follow up with the candidate. Make sure that you keep the candidate, the selected candidate, warm. Okay? Get him or her excited to join your company. So it's important that the company has a good onboarding process. And as I mentioned, onboarding doesn't mean it starts on the first day of the candidate joining. It starts beyond that. After the candidate has signed on the dotted line, the employment contract, and if he needs to give a month notice during that month, as a recruiter, as a HR professional, you need to ensure that you keep in contact with the candidate at least once or twice before he joins. An onboarding process usually consists of two parts. One is the orientation, which happens during the first day or first 2 days when the employee joins, as well as on-the-job training, getting induced into the new environment with the new work process, etc. The objectives of onboarding is to introduce new employees to the workplace and colleagues, provide information about the company policies and processes, help the employees to learn about the company's culture, as well as understand the values and prescribe to those company values, explain the job responsibility to the employees so that he or she can become effective in his or her job. Today's trying to manage the orientation or the onboarding is a little bit tough because of the COVID situation. Many employees are working from home or remotely. Not all employees are working in the office. So for remote employees, companies must use different technology to help with the orientation, such as video conferencing facilities, training videos, or even the HR management system. So for those companies that are not using technology, they will miss out on the opportunity of having a good, effective onboarding process. So remember, onboarding is a process and not an event. It is not a one-time event and then you forget about it. It's a process. It starts before the employee joins the company, when the employee joins the company in the first 2 days, and even after that, during the probation period. And during onboarding, the company must make a good impression to the candidate. Many companies fail to do that, and you find that many employees, after a month or two, resign from the company. Don't rush that new employees into the work and bury him or her with paperwork and documents. Don't frighten the employees. Make the orientation, the onboarding personal and meaningful. Be involved. Help the new employees to understand and build his network in the organization. Go beyond the HR basics to share the workplace culture and informal practice. Make information accessible. Any things that the new candidate wants to know, he or she can find easily. Always assign a buddy or mentor from the start to help the new employees. A person where the new employees can approach with ease anytime if he or she has a question. So remember, onboarding is a long process and it's not just a one-time event. It has to be properly planned and executed. And as a HR person, you must follow up and follow through to ensure that the new employees is well infused into the company. So how can we help? Well, as we mentioned, NuSmart, we do have our recruitment and onboarding modules in our HR management system where you can create your job description for your position that you're looking for. You can use it to link it to job portal to advertise, and candidates can then apply, and all the information will be in your HRMS system. You can also use this module to schedule interviews, to do evaluation of the candidates, so everything is not lost. And then when the employees join, you can do onboarding using our system. So remember, today you need to use technology to help you with your recruitment process, especially when companies are now going into a hybrid working environment where employees are working remotely. So in our onboarding process, okay, we can look at employees' details. We can also link to your payrolls. All right, with that, I end my session. And now I will now open the floor to any questions or anybody who has any issues regarding recruitment and need help. This is the time that you can ask, and we can share the solution. Oh, someone has asked a question. What's halo effect?
Ah,
Okay.
let's ask, yeah.
Halo basically comes from the word same. You know, the same with a halo on above the head. So sometimes people tend to be very nice. Like I said, everything is nice, everything is okay. All right. So when you're doing interview, when they do evaluation, they want to be the nice guy. They don't want to ask tough questions. So they only ask simple question and looks nice. So that's the halo effect. So as a recruiter, as a HR professional, as a hiring manager, you must not be a nice guy and just ask simple question to look nice. You have to dig further to find out whether the person is competent in his or her work. So for example, if you're looking for a recruiter and you ask, have you done any recruitment before? And the guy said yes. How many what kind of position have you recruited, or from low level to high level, from junior level to management level. And you, as a hiring manager, many of them stop at this point because they want to look nice. But that doesn't mean the person, the candidate, is well versed with recruitment. You need to dig further. You need to ask the candidate, when you're hiring a junior level and a management level, what recruitment or interviewing techniques do you use? Okay. What kind of question do you ask when you're hiring for a manager? So in this way, you will be able to assess whether the candidate is a good recruiter or not. Many a time they just tell you, yes, I know. But when you ask them and drill down to the specific, they cannot answer. So that's what I mean by halo effect. I hope I answered your question.
We just got a question. So, do you think reference check is effective in the hiring process?
Well, depend on what you ask in the reference check. Of course, if you're asking for when was this person, okay, from when to when this person joined your company, what is the salary, the performance rating of this person, of course, it will not be effective. Okay. It's just like doing a check on the accuracy of the information. Reference check should always check about the employees or the candidate's competency. So some of the questions that we will be checking on is asking the ex-company, ex-employer to describe the person working style. Like, is this person able to work with a difficult situation or difficult projects? Has this person lead a team before? If yes, how many people? Has this person been tasked to do something outside the normal working hours or business day? So things like that that we are always looking at, how you ask your question during a reference check will make whether the reference check effective or not. Okay. So, like I said, do not be the halo. Don't look at the halo effect. Always drill down into deep questioning. So I hope I answered that question. Remember, when you're doing hiring check, reference check, it's never be the same from one person to another because the kind of information you're trying to find out may be different. Usually the candidates who provide a reference will speak well of them. That's why it is important that you ask very specific situation, the very specific question. How did the person handle the project? When or have the person ever handled a big project? What part did the person play? Okay, was he able a team player, or was he a project leader? Things like that. Or in terms of going beyond the core of the work, or in terms of communicating a very difficult or negative things to the employees or to the group. For example, something that your management will not approve. Okay, maybe you ask for additional budget and it was not approved. How do you communicate such news to the group and so forth? So sometimes those who are providing the answer cannot lie. Okay, they cannot put in they cannot lie and say, oh, this guy can do it well. Okay, you need to ask for very specific, drill down using the STAR method. Reference check, you also need to use the STAR method and drill down and look for very specific answer, not general answer.
We have an interesting point of view also. So usually it says someone asked, so just a follow-up. Usually the candidate will provide references who will speak well of them. So you will not really get a truthful answer.
Well, if you think you have doubt and all the answer looks very positive, maybe it's time that you give the person a call and talk to the person over the line and see and ask for more information to substantiate the reply. Okay. So sometimes I always do call the referees and talk to the referees besides sending a reference check form. Okay, so most of the time when I receive a reference check form, I will call the referees and I'll ask very specific questions to those answers that the referee has provided to make sure that it is accurate and truthful. So do not rush through. Remember I mentioned, do not rush through the interview. Take your time to select the right candidates, okay, because the person that you select correctly, okay, will join the company, will be happy with the company, and will stay with the company. Yeah.
So thanks again, Maurice, for the very insightful session and for those who have joined us today. So there are actually 2 webinar series that we are conducting. Maurice, if you could just go to the previous slide. Yeah, this one. So the first, currently the webinar series that this is part of is the foundational one. We have just finished the Going Beyond Recruitment. The next session is Understanding the Employment Act, which will be in next month. And there's actually another webinar series that we are holding, which is Future Work Trends webinars. The first one is going to be starting next week itself on Tuesday. So do join us for the session. It is Implement and Manage Hybrid Team. Yeah, do feel free to register. I put the link in the chat as well. And don't forget to sign up using the link. And there is a survey at the end of this webinar. So would love to hear more about your feedback or any other anything else you want to share. So that's all for today's session. Thanks again for joining us. And yeah, hope to see you again for future webinars.
Thank you everyone for joining my webinar. See you next week. Bye.
Thank you everyone. Bye-bye. Have a good day.